Good morning. How in the world is everybody? Well, I tell you what, this morning has been something. I got up early, run my 5 mile, well, not 5 miles, 5 kilometers. Uh, had to plow the back 40, slop the hogs. Of course, uh, you know, the everyday stuff that you do, feed the chickens, the goats, the horses, cows. I had to milk them, get up early. Had to put that for sale sign up on that property, that oceanfront property I got there in Arizona. Uh, it's for sale if anybody wants it, in case you believe any of the rest of that I told you. Because I'm not getting up and running no 5K. I ain't crazy. But I am kind of dragging this morning. I'm kind of running behind. I didn't get my pep music going. I did chunk on some Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, but it just didn't move me. Didn't move me this morning. Had a phone call and was on the phone for about 30 minutes, and therefore my brain is somewhere else. I see we got Tony and Joanie in the green room. Tony, Joanie, good to see y'all. I'll be with y'all in just a minute. Let me say hello to everybody real quick. Let's see who we got up in here. LG Home. Hey, Lori, how in the world are you? Waiting for the live action. There you go. There you go. Live and action. I don't know how much action there's going to be this morning. I'm just kind of dragging. Got Heather Lynn from Garden. I tell you what, Heather Lynn, I always like to see her. She's got her stuff. I tell you, I think I'm going to dub her the Strawberry Queen because she can grow some strawberries. Annette from down under. Good morning or evening. Down under, I guess it's evening, isn't it? We got gathered together. Hey, Glenn, how are y'all doing? Or Jessica. Either one. Glenn and Jessica had Tony and Creekside Maples on last week or the week before. Time gets away from me. And had them up. So if you missed that, you need to go back and check it. Then we got the Mod Father himself representing. Let's see who else we got down in here. Anybody? There's Tiny Tim. How you doing, Tiny Tim? We got Woman's Outdoor. Appreciate you coming. Here's AK Bread Company. I just found their channel, so I'm not real familiar with them yet. We got at Drunken Chef Barbecue. You want to know how to cook? There you go. And again, I've just recently found his channel as well, or their channel. And so far, I've liked what I've seen. It makes me hungry every time I go over there. There's the girl from Alabama. Need to write a song about the girl from Alabama, Danny Day's Homestead. How in the world are you doing, Danny? It's good to see you. My thing skipped on me. There we go. Let me get back up here to the top. We got here Chuck's special guest there, Tony and Joanie. I imagine most everybody knows them already, but if you don't, check them out. Got Bex 1959. I seen her on a live somewhere the other day, but I sure appreciate you coming in. Crubby had told me earlier he was going to be here. Got Wendy from up there. I think, aren't you up there in Nova Scotia somewhere? Anyway, up there north of Mississippi. That's all I know. Let me get down. Got my buddy Cody saying morning, everybody. I hope he's doing all right. Janet over there at Homestead where you are. Appreciate you coming in. Got number one, be yourself. I'm going to work myself down, and then I'm going to get Tony and Joanie because they're the ones you want to see. I understand that. I can see myself in the camera on screen, so I know you're not here to see me. I can see that. Look here who we got in. Who is the Strawberry Queen? That would be Heather Lynn. Garden to Table with Heather Lynn. I think I'm just going to go ahead and name her the Strawberry Queen. Now, Zany Mae, let me tell you something. Zany Mae sent me some turmeric. And she could tell you probably better than I could how many months ago it's been. It's been months. I planted that stuff and it just sat there and it never done nothing. It just sat there and sat there and sat there. There was 3 or 4 times I thought about just dumping it out and using my pots for something else. Do you know I went out there yesterday and I'm getting some little shoots coming up? I feel like a real gardener. I was a failure 2 days ago, and then yesterday I all of a sudden became the expert gardener. Ask me anything you want, and I can tell you how to grow anything now that my turmeric's come up. Speaking to everybody, and my thing just jumped. So if I missed you, I did miss you. There's Sweet King's Garden. I just got through watching your video, her garden tour. Hey, y'all, she's 90, 94, 96. Like when I had her on, she was at 60 or 70, something like that. And she's just a few away from 100. If y'all can get over there and get Sweet King, get Lydia from Sweet King's Garden and get her over the 100 mark, that would be fantastic. There's Mr. Boots, Virginia. Hey, Stephen. It's good to see you, my friend. Don't mean to just pass over you. I'm just trying to hurry up and get down here so I can say hello to Tony and them. They in the green room freezing. Apparently. No, I got the air down in the green room, so it ought to be all right. Got my daughter, momming with Charity. Love my daughter. And I'm going to just ease on down here. Got Bare Bones Living. Hey, Amanda, how in the world are you? Girl got her a trailer now that she can haul her new TV on. She was saying it was a UTV she was wanting to haul, and I kept thinking she was saying new TV, and I was like, why do you need a big old trailer to haul a new TV? That's one gigantic TV. And then I figured it out. Number 1, be yourself. That's right. Be yourself. Be yourself. She's got be yourself, but it should be yourself. I probably have missed some because this thing skipped on me. And, and there's no telling who all I missed. And I apologize if I did. Just keep commenting. Just keep commenting, and I'll admit I'm cute. There you go. Hold on. Let me. Hold on. I messed something. Let me get the screen so I have proof of this, so I can tell my wife. I'm just kidding. But it's true. Hey, it's 12 Stones Ranch. Good morning. Appreciate y'all coming in. Look, y'all didn't come to hear me jibber jabber because you hear me jibber jabber all the time, and whatever jibber jabber is. Hey, Byron, is that 12 Stones? If that's 12 Stones, let me know because I'm not sure. I'm thinking so, but I may be wrong. Got some folks throwing up some links, saying hello, and got Southern Roots in the house. Y'all, we are in the presence of greatness today. Appreciate you coming in there, Sherry. Yes, Byron. Appreciate you coming in, Byron. Look, y'all have come to see Tony and Joanie, so we're going to get them up. We're not going to delay any longer. Y'all ready? I'm going to see if they're ready in the back before I bring them up. Tony got his hair. He's fixing his hair. He's slicking it down. Okay. Let him get him up. The world are y'all? You slick yours like mine, huh?
Hey, y'all. How you doing?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Joanie, can you hear?
Yeah,
can you hear us? Okay.
It's kind of a little bit of a delay, but I think we're all right. Joanie, I told my wife the other day, watching you, and I'm not putting you on the spot. I'm not going to embarrass you. But you remind me so much of my sister-in-law. Her brother married this girl, and good, super people. So it's a compliment.
Good.
Well, she's just so nice. She's there to keep her husband in line, like you do, Tony. But always got a little word of wisdom. just I mean, something about you just reminds me so much of her. So if I accidentally call you Tasha, don't think nothing of it. All right.
All righty. No worries.
Well, hey, we thanks so much for having us on, Chuck. We really appreciate it, and hello to everyone here in the chat as well. We're glad to have so many folks here, and we know many of them. Yeah, we just want to say thank you to you and all that you guys do, and everything that helps us get our story out, and it does good. Those hard times you go through, it does good sometimes to talk about them, for sure. So.
I know. Well, I know when I contacted you, you said, well, you didn't want to, I can't remember how you said it, but it wasn't like you was asking people to hear your story or anything like that, but we want to. I'm a preacher. I'm a Baptist preacher. And the other day, God had put on my heart about loving or letting people love you, if that makes sense.
It does.
Sometimes we don't let God love us, even though He is love, but we don't let Him love us. And I think it's the same with people. When people want to love on you, when people want to help you and do things, I think we need to let people do that. It's a blessing to them as much as it is to anybody else.
For sure, because I know, like I'm an ordained minister as well, and we've been in ministry for 30 years. Traveled all over the United States, and you understand this, Chuck. You spend your time, giving to people, giving out and pouring yourself out to others, but yet we find it difficult sometimes to allow that to be poured back into our lives, because we feel like we're supposed to be the super spiritual, the superhuman, we're supposed to be the strong ones here. But sometimes God reminds us that we're just human, and sometimes we get empty inside too. And if we don't stop at those times and allow others to pour back into us, it's just like a vehicle. You'll go nowheres on an empty tank. And when it comes to helping other people, when your tank is empty, you can't possibly pour out to anybody else. So we have to allow ourselves to accept that, as humbling as it is. And I think that's our biggest thing, is that, it's very, very humbling to think that there's this many people that are concerned about what we're going through, that really do want to reach out and help.
Well, I think there are. I think there's a lot of people. I've seen a lot of folks mention it or talk about it. I know you was on Glenn and Jess's channel, Gather Together Homestead, and they reached out to you. You didn't reach out to them, but they reached out to you, and I seen that, and I thought, what a blessing that. And I like Glenn and Jay. I met them a while
Great
back.
People.
And, they seem like good people of faith, and just want to reach out and help people. And I like that. I like anybody that has that kind of heart.
Right.
Hey, let me tell you something. And you know this probably better than I do. How long you been in ministry?
Been in ministry 30 years.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm 29 this November.
Hey, I'm 28 yesterday.
Do what?
I was 28 yesterday.
28. Yeah. Well, I've been in ministry 29 years come November. And one thing that I have learned, and it's taken me a long time to learn, is that when you do have these trials, you have these hard issues come up, it also makes you kind of excited, because when you come out the other side of it, you're going to see God in a way you've never seen Him before.
Yes.
And you will.
And that's the thing that I think we were talking with Jesse and Lisa, and I think, thank you, Glenn and Jessica. We love you guys too so much. I think the big thing for us is when you get on the other side of these things, the testimonies that you can share. And I think one of the greatest things, and again, I refer back to Jesse because we talk a lot, and one of the biggest things he said is that it's not just for you guys. This is helping us. It's going to help us build our faith. It's going to help other people build their faith. Your story is going to rally the faith of so many, especially once you get through all of this, because then you're going to be able to stand at the end of it and say, hey, we made it. even though we struggled and was fearful, and those feelings are true and real. The unknown scares us. Change scares us. But to be able to, and I say this all the time, some things you can't get around in life. Sometimes you have to go through. And so we are forced to go through this in our life right now. We can't get around it. We can't ignore it. It's not going to go away. So now we're forced to face this. And so that brings fear. It brings trepidation. It brings an uneasiness, and it makes your nerves raw, and it's heavy on you. I'm being very transparent here. There's days you can hardly get up because you're overwhelmed by the scenario of what if and where and how, and all of those things come crashing down on you. But that's when you have to get back up, and you have to dust yourself off and remind yourself, I can do all things through Christ. And that means this too.
Right.
And I think that's where we have to tell and remind ourselves and tell ourselves every day that we're going to get to the end of this, and we're going to have a testimony, and we're going to have a story, and it's going to help somebody else. And we have to get that in our brain every day.
Well, you talked about, getting up, and every day will be different. One day you'll get up and you'll be, I got this. It's going to be fine. It's going to be great. And then the next day you might get up and say, what in the world are we going to do?
Exactly. Yeah.
And somebody that's, and you've been here with people that you've counseled and talked to down through the years, you've been on this side of it saying, you just trust the Lord. It'll be okay. It'll be fine. God's going to get you through. But when you're going through it yourself, it's a whole different story.
It is. And Chuck, we're so, and I say this kindly and with great respect, but we are so good at regurgitating prepackaged anecdotes and answers based upon what we've read in scripture. And so we say things like, just keep, pray through it, remember Job, remember this scripture, and remember these people in the Bible, and they went through it, and Paul was in jail but came out. And those are all real stories, but you have to be careful. And I know we do, and we've noticed this, and we've figured this out, that those can fall very hollow, very empty. They can sound very hollow, very empty, and they can fall on ears that really aren't hearing that, because even though it's a great story, that's not their story.
Right.
And so we are finding that through this, we recognize that we just don't want to tell somebody we're praying for them. That is great, and that is the greatest thing we can do. However, sometimes people need to hear more than, well, remember Job, he went through it. Yeah, I know about Job, but we're not Job.
Right.
And so I think over the years, we've been, as ministry, too quick sometimes not to dismiss, but not really be sensitive to the story that person is telling. And so now here we are, and this is our story. And yeah, I read about Job. I preach about Jacob. I read about Paul and Silas in the jail cell. And I know God can, and I know God will, and all that. But the truth of it is, we are humanity that questions, and we are humanity that's fearful. And so this is causing us to be very real and very transparent with who we are, our faith, our emotions, and where we are at in life on this journey right now. So we're hoping that helps people.
Well, let me ask you, and Tony or Joanie, either one. I don't want to leave you out, Joanie. I hope you don't think I am. So you just hop in and anytime you want. But there may be some people in the chat, or some people that will watch this later, that may not understand exactly what we're talking about here as far as what you're going through. If you want to tell what's going on, I want to give you that opportunity, and that way they can know what this isn't just a vague
okay
to them.
Okay. Well, for many do, but and all that, and again, I do, as you know, I do a lot of talking. But anyway, what happened? We moved back from the United States. 5 years ago, 6 years ago, and we had when we moved here, because we've been away from the country so long, and so many things had expired, and we really didn't have an identity here in Canada any longer. So we came back and we wanted to purchase a place. And so what we had to do was, we entered into a lease to buy agreement with a landowner here on our Creekside property. Things had gone on well. The property itself was horrible. You could not live in the house. We had to make a decision. Do we burn it down, bulldoze it, or rebuild it? And so what we chose to do, and the landowner, we entered into this agreement, and we have all the paperwork and all that stuff here. We went to work to bring the house back to a livable condition. And so we sunk thousands upon tens of thousands of dollars into this to have a home. And we cleared out the land and the trash and rebuilt and gutted and redid and all those sort of things. And then last December, the owner of the land that we have the agreement with, they showed up 2 weeks before Christmas and told us that they had an offer, just is going to sell the land for 3 times what our deal was. Right. Well, we knew that really wasn't right, wasn't legal, but we didn't know the ground that we stood on really legally. So that totally devastated us. Well, 2 days later, they came back and said, no, we're going to honor the agreement we have with you. That's the right thing to do. Don't worry about it. This is on us. You guys don't worry about a thing. So we didn't. And then May this year, things were supposed to be renewed, contracts, all of that. Well, they chose not to. They basically showed up here and said, we're selling the property. You guys have to get out. And this is the way it is. So basically, it's left us homeless and left us absolutely totally distraught, not knowing what we're going to do, how we're going to do it. Basically, it just absolutely destroyed us, because everything we have here, everything we've built, all of the investment, all the money, all of it is going to be gone. So that being said, for about a week, we're so devastated by all of that someone would do that to people,
Imagine it took the air out of you, didn't it?
Oh, it did. You talk about not being able to get out of bed because you have no energy left. You have no draw, nothing. It's just like everything is sucked right out of you. And even you try to pray, but you can't hardly pray. All you can do is cry, because it's like, God, where are you? And then we question, obviously we all do. How do you let this happen, God? But then you start to try to rally yourself and rally each other and get proactive and say, okay, we can't change this. We can't get around it. We got to go through this. So now what are we going to do? Well, it's tough, because with us, I had a motorcycle accident the first year back here and have not been able to work because of injuries to my shoulders and my body and everything. It took me 3 years to get surgery to fix what was wrong, and then another year of physio so that I could, use my shoulders and stuff like that. And that creates an issue for us, because we don't have what's called here in Canada REO or ROE, which is a record of employment. Okay. And so when you go to the bank to borrow money, they want you to prove to them, okay, you're working, you've got this income, here's a record of that income that guarantees us you can pay this money back, blah, blah, blah. I can't produce that because of my injuries and all of the scenario. It's just a huge scenario. Yes, the accident was not my fault. We do have an ongoing legal battle with the individuals that caused the accident. However, you're looking, it could be 8 years before, if we see anything. The other scenario, last week, the appraisers for this piece of property, now this is the real estate company that hired that was hired by the landowner. So they came last week and they wanted to do this and that, measure everything up. So, it's very upsetting. Again, you relive every day those things happen, and you relive that feeling of just utter helplessness. And you can't, you want to change something. And I've always been one that I've been able to fix it, and I can't fix this. And so
you find yourself kind of feeling helpless, and
very much so. And so, you go from there, to last week when they came in, and here's our home, and they're measuring it and all of this. But the one thing that the real estate company said to us last week, and I don't know if it's going to come to pass. If it does, it's down the road quite a ways. But they agreed. Now, this is their real estate company. They agreed with us that what they're doing is so wrong. It's an egregious wrong.
Right.
And so they said, if nothing else, we're going to try to get it written into the contract that she has to reimburse you at least for some of the money that you've dumped into this place. Because what it is, we took a house that was not marketable for them, that they could not sell because it was trashed. And we've brought that over 5 years back to a very marketable and desirable piece of land, to where now they have said, okay, we got it to where we want it. You're out, and we're going to make a big dollar off of this.
And probably it makes everybody in the chat, along with mine, it makes your blood boil that people are like that. But and in some ways, we feel righteous in letting our blood boil. But people's going to be people. That's just the nature of people, humanity. And that's why your fate's not in man, right?
Well, that's it. And people, they ask us, how can you still love people? Well, it makes it difficult, but the thing you have to understand is not everybody's like that. And that's what I have to tell myself. Yourself, Chuck, being in ministry, the road can get tough, and we live in glass houses and everybody has stones to throw. That's just the truth of it. But we have to remember, I'll tell you, I don't know, and I'll let her talk in just a second. Not let her, she can talk anytime she wants to. She knows that.
Oh, I know that.
Yeah.
I'm married.
But we've always had to remind ourselves that we have a community on here. This community, this YouTube community has been our strength, has been our hope, has been our peace, everything since this started. This community is what has carried us. Excuse me, I get emotional, but this has carried us when we could not carry ourselves. This community has carried us with their prayers and their comments and all of it. And so, anyhow, excuse me, I'll let her talk for a second.
Hey, go ahead, Tony.
Yeah, like Tony was saying, we have constantly received messages from you all through YouTube and also on our social media. And it's just been such a refreshing. And, God does have a plan. He truly does. I believe it. And I was thinking the other day, I told Tony, I've used that phrase for years. Just that's my go-to phrase because I believe it. I've seen it happen. But I said the other day, I said, in this situation, I am rephrasing this. And I'm not saying anymore God has a plan. I'm saying God has the master plan.
That's right.
I'm bringing this up several notches.
Well, it makes you see things in a different light, don't it?
It sure does. It sure does. I mean, he's the master of everything, correct?
That's
so
right.
this is nothing but I don't know, a blink of his eye, our situation,
I was telling the other day, gas price, y'all's gas prices are way, way higher than ours down here. we're a little bit over $4, about 4.09, somewhere like that, a gallon down here, and that's ridiculous. I mean, it doesn't have to be that way, and we know that, and it just it frustrates us that it's that way. But my mentality as a person of faith, as a Christian, you know, the same God that bought me my gas when it was $1.20 is the same God that can buy my gas when it's $4.20. Money means nothing to God.
Right.
It still makes me mad, but I'm still confident. My confidence is not in our government, obviously. My confidence is in God, and the same God that took care of me back then can take care of me now, and so forth and so on. But that's neither here nor there with y'all. I guess it is the same God that took care of you through all your other troubles can take care of you now. But
well, that's what we're trusting. And excuse me for leaving there for a minute. This is tough to talk about some days, and you know, it gets overwhelming. But you know, it is what it is. And so we're just trying to be very proactive now. We don't know how this is going to happen. We don't know. We wish we did know, and we all wish sometimes when we go through the hardest times that God would send us an email and say, okay, here's the plan and here's how it's going to happen, but it doesn't happen that way. And so, you know, we felt that we needed to right away start looking at, okay, where are we going to move to? Because that was obviously the first question. We have no way or means to get anywhere. So we spent this past weekend, we went to New Brunswick where my mother-in-law lives, and she's been with us for the last 3 weeks. So we took her back, and then we just started looking for land and trying to find land and looking at some parcels of ground and stuff like that. And so, you know, and got very specific in our prayers and requests, and because, you know, it has to happen soon because, you know, it's happening regardless of whether we're here or not. This property is gone. And it's so huge of a struggle because we have built our life here, Chuck. Many people that know us watch our videos. We have a really good maple syrup setup. So now I have to tear all that down. Evaporators, you name it. We have to do that. My milling operation, you know, our sawmill, that is the only income we have that in our channel. That's it. And so now the struggle is gas went up again last night. We are over $10 a gallon now here where we live for gas, $10 a gallon. And so the amount of money that it's going to take to travel back and forth to make the trips that we need to make, you know, it's $600-700 a trip just to go to New Brunswick and come back for the next load. So, and traveling to find the land is so expensive, but to tear down the mill is a huge undertaking. we have to take all of that apart. And if I take all of that apart, that therein goes any income we have.
right.
You know, and so, and then there's the barn, and then there's the animals, and then there's the house and all of it. So we're doing everything we can possibly do to make this work on our end. And God's just going to have to do the rest. You know, we're selling everything we can sell to raise, you know, enough money to buy a piece of land. You know, our budget to buy land this summer is between you know, $30,000 to $35,000, and God knows where that's coming from. We don't, He does. But we're selling like mower, my big ride on mower, you name it, we're selling it all. That's just stuff. But
Lori,
you know,
Lori from LG Homestead asked a question. I had it up there a while ago, but it's done gone. She said, well, what do you need, or what do you need from us to help? And then she said, what do you need from her to help? So, because she wanted you to know that it was personal to her. But I think everybody here would, I guess would have that same response. And I know Jesse probably is putting up some of your information. I have a hard time keeping up with the chat, so I try and throw something every now and then. But so if you could answer that question, if you don't mind, people want to know.
Well, to start with, and what do you want to jump in here?
You're doing great.
Some of the big things, and I understand too, because of where we live, it's remote, and we're away from everybody else. You've got border issues, you got all that. Thank goodness the borders are open now. Mm-hmm. But honestly, some of the big needs are simple. It's trying to tear everything down alone is, just the two of us is going to be huge. But we understand those are things we have to do, because you can't get in your truck, especially now with fuel being the price it is. It's an impossibility for people to, get in their vehicle and drive for 10 hours to come help tear down a barn or anything like that, because the cost is so astronomical. So, there's some folks here like Shane, is a fellow we met from live off of Glenn and Jessica's.
Great former freelance.
Yes. And so he's going to help us, and as many will. So there's those things, the move itself, loading things and all that. There's always that need. Prayer is the number one thing. Prayer is the biggest thing. Sincere prayer that asks God, we need the biggest thing that we need is the finances. And that's the huge thing, because without that, we can't get the land, we can't move anything, we're stuck. And so those are the needs that we have.
Well, and speaking of land, he had asked us to share, and we do have some updates since our first live with Glenn and Jessica. I think we should talk about that, about some land that we did look at on the weekend. We looked at about 3 different properties.
Yep.
So talk about that.
Well, go ahead.
Anyway, we found one, and the neat thing about it, we weren't looking for this particular place. We found it. We did not even. It was listed, but we did not see it. We stumbled upon it. Now, I mean, that right there to me says something, right? Yeah. How many times has that worked out into been the what was needed? Anyhow, so this one particular piece, PIECE, we felt complete PEACE. It's the only one. And so we talked about it on our drive home yesterday. We just mulled it all over. And anyway, you take it from there. Tell them what we did, because, the Bible says faith without works is dead. I mean, I don't want to appear like I'm all preachy. I'm not that way. I promise you. He's the preacher. But I mean, obviously things do resonate with you. And I told Tony, I said, I feel like we have done our part. We just didn't. Yes, initially, once we had the wind kicked out of us, we pulled ourselves up. we regrouped. We got strength, and then we got a little plan together. So what that plan consisted of, we went looking. We did some legwork. God's just not God. God expects us to do our part, right? So we did our part, right? We walked into that realm of faith, pure, blind faith, which is where God works best and what God loves. So faith without works is dead, the Bible says. So what did we do? After about 5 hours on the road, we call that real estate agent of that piece of property that we stumbled upon.
Yeah, because if we back up a little bit, we had honestly, when we started looking at pieces of land, we were totally overwhelmed. Because number one, the fuel tank just kept going, and every time you pull into the gas tank, it's another $200. It's $200 to fill my truck, and so that was crazy. And then we knew we can't keep just driving aimlessly from point A to point B because we had a realtor sending us different spots to go see.
Right.
Well, that got real expensive real quick because
Right.
some of them were hour and a half, 2 hours apart.
Sure.
So at the end of the day, basically, we just said, well, I told her, I said, let's just go down this road. I just feel like we need to drive down this road. And we did. And so we drove down this road and we see this for sale sign, piece of land. And so I said, well, and the sign said on it $50,000 is what it said, $49,900. And I told her, I said, there's no way, that is so far out of our budget. And so, but we pulled anyway, and it's this beautiful 2-acre field. It's not 40 acres, but we have to take what we can get right now.
Right.
So it's sometimes you have to understand this is what we need versus what we want. And so we've gotten very specific about what we need, not just what we want. And so we pulled up in and we looked at it and we thought, this is really nice. And it overlooks the St. John River Valley, which is really nice. So it gives us a view. And we said, because we've always lived on the low side of the road and dealt with mud and runoff, I said, we're not living on the low side of the road again.
Right.
This one's up on the opposite side of the road on this, and it's high up, so you don't have to worry about drainage and all that. But then I told her, I said, there's just no way we can make this work. Well, then we noticed on the other side of it, there's more land. So I just on a whim, I called the broker and realtor, and I said, hey, here's what we're doing. Here's what we're looking at. Tell me about this piece of property. And he said, well, this is what it is. Okay. So then we hung up and I said, I really like it. I like how we feel about it. However, it's just 2 acres and we need more than 2 acres. So driving home yesterday, we felt challenged in our faith to call that realtor back. And I'm it's funny. I don't want to say I make it hard, but you think you're making it hard for God sometimes, like so that we can get direction. Isn't it amazing, Chuck, that if the devil tells us something, we'll believe it right away. Right. But if God tells us something, we say, prove it.
Prove it.
Amazing.
I've never thought about it that way, but that's
amazing. Let the dew be on the cloth, but not on the grass in the scriptures. Or let the grass be wet and let the cloth be dry. That's but we do that with God. And so I called the realtor and I said, listen, 2 acres is too small. Who owns the land beside it? Well, a farmer does. I said, you think he'd be interested in enlarging the plot? I don't know. Call the farmer and let us know. So he calls this farmer up, and I knew like this was a shot in the dark. And he calls us back a couple hours later and he says, listen, the farmer's all more than willing to enlarge the plot. He'll add 5 more acres to it. So that would be 7 acres.
Right.
And so I said, okay, let me ask you this. I said, you got $49,500. That's $50,000 on that piece of ground. And you have to understand where it's located because a lot of people like to build along that area, the river and stuff like that. Anyway, I said, that is so far out of our budget. And I said, Lord, if this is to work, you have got to bring this down to our budget. Now, you got to understand, they're asking 50. The top, our budget is really like 30,000. And that's really where we felt comfortable trying to raise funds for, because then you got to put on top of that another 5,000 for your fees and everything. And so anyway, to start with, the realtor said this. He said, listen, Tony, I'm not on a commission base for that sale. It's just a straight cost. That's it. Well, I thought, okay. I said, because I had a number in my mind that I would offer him. I said, where do you think I should make an offer at? What do you think? Now, understand, it's $50,000, $49,900.
Right.
He says, why don't you just offer them 30?
20,000 under. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like 20,000 less.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, no way, you didn't just say that. And so, we were looking at going, wow, like, did that just happen? So everything that we had asked God to, I guess, sweeten the pot with to help us feel better about it happened yesterday. Now, that doesn't mean we have it.
No.
And that doesn't mean that they're going to accept the offer. That doesn't mean any of those things. It just means that we had a little light at the end of the tunnel. We had a little glimmer of hope, that little feeling of, God's got this. Let's see what happens, So, but again, it's in God's hands.
I'm sure it lifted your spirits a little bit just to have that kind of, I guess, that little glimmer of light, if you will.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
And also this particular property of everything we looked at, all the other pieces were just raw, untouched land.
Right.
And we talked about that. We said, we've got to be real with ourselves. That's a huge undertaking. We don't have unlimited resources, money, or time to go in and clear. Now, Tony's great with the chainsaw. He really is. But, when you get into pulling stumps out and grinding them up and, all that stuff, you're talking a lot of time and backbreaking work and money before you even can begin to lay a foundation or anything. So this piece was cleared and it had the driveway in place. So that alone is a lot of value in that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, definitely. I'm not sure how things are up in that part of the country, because that's just, it's just foreign to my way of thinking. I guess it's out of sight, out of mind. But anytime you can find a place that is already got some preparation done, you're money ahead.
Yeah,
for sure.
Well, that's what because we looked at 2 or 3 others that were great potential, but had no access. So you're looking at getting access from the highway into them. So you're looking at culverts and crushed rock and dozers and all the heavy equipment. We don't have any of that stuff, nor the money to hire it. And so, we just had to accept, okay, what is it that we need here? And then pray that way. And that's what this piece of ground has. I mean, you can drive right up in there, drive right onto it. It's all nice field, grass, everything, it's private, which we really wanted, because, when you have animals and a sawmill, the last thing you want to do is be in someone else's backyard.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
So, but God knows. And we're just really, trusting him that somehow all this is going to work out, so we're waiting now on hearing back from the fellow up there in New Brunswick to see what that offer's like. Do they like it? Those sort of things. So as soon as we hear back, well, then we'll have more information. And then if it's a yes, well, then we have to supply a down payment, obviously, and then go from there, and God will supply the rest. And so that's where we're at right now, so.
There's I guess, just from reading some of the comments and things like that, there are people that obviously think a lot of y'all, and that's good. I haven't known you probably as long as some of these others have known you, but I have watched quite a few. You do milling, which is, to me, is fascinating. What's fascinating is, I'm not going to ask your age, but I'm 54, and I'm just looking at you thinking, boy, I'd love to do that. I don't think I've got the energy to do what you do. I really don't. But it does. I just love the feel of good wood, just fresh cut wood, the smell of it, everything about it I love. And which I got some church members that has sawmills. I got one that has a circular saw, big. I mean, it must be 4 foot blade on it. It's a beast. It's run by like a truck motor.
Yes.
It's unreal.
Yeah.
But you did that. Y'all got the sugar shack, or you had the sugar shack, and you got your animals. You do some gardening. And you do your Creekside Chronicles on that's a different channel though.
Yeah, Creekside Chronicles is Sunday morning, and that's our church, Sunday morning church station. That's what that is, channel. Yeah.
You mentioned Sunday, which you was on your regular channel
Yes.
And I guess that's how I found it, to be honest with you. But and I was watching, you was talking about Rachel, Joshua and them crossing over Jordan, and then coming around to Jericho, and
Rahab, yeah.
but Rahab, yeah, my brain went dead. Rahab, the harlot, and you know, when you read in Hebrews, the Bible talks about Abraham, the faith of Abraham and of Sarah, and then talks about the faith of Rahab. Two different spectrums.
Yes.
The rich and the poor, the upright or the well respected and the less thought of, I guess, and yet it was faith in God for both of them.
Right.
God, I don't think God accidentally put that in there.
No.
I know God had a purpose in it, and but I was just thinking through some of that, what you were speaking of, and
well, I thank God He's no respecter of persons, and that what that shows us is if we recognize the hand of God, if we recognize the power of God, that it matters not what dimension of life you come from, it matters not what your lineage, your history, your parents, your grandparents, your house, vehicle you drive, job you work, income or lack thereof, education or lack thereof. If you recognize the hand of God, if you recognize the power of God, then we are all on equal footing to receive whatever He has for us. It's just simply stepping back from self, disconnecting from the peer pressure of everything else, and accepting that, God, you've got this. I know you're in this. As scared to death. I mean, you look at Rahab. Can you imagine? Like, we lived through an F5 tornado in Joplin, Missouri in 2011. We were there pastoring a church when that went through.
really,
So we understand devastation and the fear that goes with it. But can you imagine you're on a wall that is so high and so wide that two vehicles side by side can race down across the top of it, okay? And everything around you is tumbling down. Everything is shaking, earthquake happening. People are screaming. Everyone else is dying except for you, because you're standing there and you're hanging on to that scarlet thread. I believe that because it says that they let them down. She let them out her window with a scarlet thread. And I imagine she had a hold of that thing till her knuckles were white. And she was just hanging on to the only vestige of hope and faith that she had. And that was the promise that she had from those two guys, that they would not forget her, that God would come through for her. And that's how we are. We are white knuckling our faith, with everything around us crumbling and everything around us falling down. Our calm it's become chaos with one phone call. And so we're holding on to that scarlet thread of faith, believing that somehow when the dust settles, we're going to walk out of this thing onto a whole new life, to a whole new homestead that God has prepared for us, God has brought us to, and God is paid for. Right. And then no one can deny it. And we can stand back and say, look where the Lord has brought us. Look what He has done. We've not been perfect through it, but we've been faithful through it.
I tell you what, though, Tony, and not to diminish anything of what you're going through, because I know that it's very hard on y'all right now, but somebody that's in your position, you and Joanie's position, that you have in the past, that you've been trusting God for many, many years now. And for somebody like y'all, that you have seen the hand of God. You've seen what God can do. You've not seen what He can do in situations like this, obviously, right. But you will, but you've seen what He can, just like Rahab seen the power of the Israelites' God. And so that's why she was hanging on, like you said. She's hanging on because she had at one time seen and heard about the power of this God. And
it's true.
Somebody that may not understand what you're going through or have never experienced that, may not be of faith, they may look at this, and through this, say, well, there's something to it. There's something to it.
Yeah. Well, I know. I mean, I go back to 2011 a lot. We talk about 2011 was a hard year in our life because we survived. There's the F5 tornado that went through Joplin, Missouri, and I had to bury church members that were killed in that. Not only that, our eldest daughter nearly died in an ATV accident.
Oh my goodness.
I found her laying in the middle of the road in a pool of blood with an ATV on top of her.
Oh,
so this all happened within 6 months' time in 2011. And at the same time that was all going on, our youngest daughter was involved in a shooting accident. And so we nearly lost both of our kids. We nearly lost everything, our sanity, you name it, plus our town's destroyed, our church is going through it. I mean, it is one attack after the other. And I have no idea how we made it through, but we did. And we stood back and watched the hand of God work. And so we've been in those hard places, and we've been in those times when you can't cry anymore because you've cried every tear you've got to cry. You can't squeeze another one out. And where you're desperately pounding on the floor saying, God, where are you? We've been there. And with this situation, it's another one of those doozies where this is totally out of our hands. So we have to go, here, God, you take this, please. Somehow lead us. Let us be willing, and there's a key. Let us be willing to endure this with faith, to take the steps as you order them, and to accept what you lay before us with thanksgiving in our heart. And that is truly the struggle. It really is.
Well, Tony and Joanie, I have let the time get away from me. I've been kind of engrossed in all what y'all are going through. I generally don't go past 10 o'clock because Ann Dale has hers at 10. And I like everybody to I like to respect her. She's such a wonderful person. Danny Day's homestead goes on at 11. Gather Together is tomorrow at 9. I always try and announce those. These are all central times, I think. And, but just people hearing your story and hearing what y'all are going through, but not just hearing it, but seeing the way that you're handling it, to me, I think is a testament to, not so much, I hate to put it this way, not so much your faith, but more so to your God. And that's where I always want to point people to is to God. When people can see who you're trusting in and what you're trusting in, that it perhaps gives them hope, gives them encouragement, helps them realize that, hey, look at what they're going through. There must be something to this. And it might help them search. I don't know if, again, I hadn't been watching all right, buddy, you be careful. Love you. Love you too. I'm sorry, my son's walking out the door, having to go to work. I don't know. There it is. Jesse has been putting up links. You can go to their channel. Some people may make the statement or may be in a situation where they're unable to send something to your PayPal. And again, if you do send it to PayPal, send it to the family and friends through that avenue. Just do it. We don't have to explain it. Just do it that way. That's the best way to do it. And I know they'll appreciate it. But if you can't, what you can do, you can watch their channel. You can run their playlist. You can pray, especially you mentioned prayer is very, very important. And is probably the most important. And that's true. I'm sorry, I was getting a call. There's multiple ways you can send a note to them, encouraging them. They need, without a doubt, they need money. Send them money. Send them whatever you can. And I think you'll be a blessing. I don't think, my father-in-law taught me years ago, he's a minister. He taught me years ago, he said, you can never outgive God.
That's right.
You just can't do it. You don't have, Bill Gates don't have enough money that he can outgive God. And I believe that. I truly do. So I appreciate y'all coming. And I know it's hard to bear your soul like this, but people need to know. People want to know. And they don't want to know just to be curious. They want to know because they care about you. And
well, we appreciate that, Chuck.
Do.
We thank you for having us on. And again, gathered together, Glenn and Jessica had us on. You know, we appreciate them, and Jesse and Lisa have just been so faithful in staying connected with us and helping us through this. And we love and appreciate them so much. Just wonderful people. And Chuck, to you and you know, your family, thank you for having us on. And you know, again, the greatest thing people can do is pray.
Right.
And we appreciate every gift, everything that comes in. And I can guarantee you it's going to go to the new land, because that's the only way that we can get this done is through God and moving on people. So thank you, everybody that's came here today. We really appreciate it.
Well, look, if y'all need anything, just you got my email. My phone number's in my email. I don't care if people call me. I don't care. I would much rather call because I'm better at things like that. But you call, you text, you email, you do whatever, and any way that we can be a blessing, you just let us know, and we'll try and do what we can. How about that?
All right. We appreciate it, Chuck. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone who came in today. I was trying to read all the comments, and they really, really mean the world to us. I know a few of you shared you can relate on a certain level. So that's always encouraging to see. And let's just all stay strong together, right? There's strength in numbers.
There is
strength in that.
Well, I appreciate y'all coming, and it's such a pleasure to meet y'all finally face to face. I've watched your lives, and I'll be honest with you, I started to bring some kind of gadget on, see if you could guess what it was, and come up with some kind of weird word, see if you could define it. But I enjoyed. I appreciate y'all so much. I'm going to get off here, let people go over and see Ann, and I have got I don't know how many phone calls and texts since I've been I don't know what's going on. I better get to checking all that. So,
all right, Chuck.
Have
Thank
a
you.
Good day.
Yes, sir. God bless y'all.
God bless. Bye-bye.
Appreciate everybody in the chat.